Is God a DJ? What if the universe itself is the music, the sound of life in motion? And what if you are not just a chord in its symphony, but also the composer? To let the sound of life flow through you, to live and create in harmony with it, your compass is your intuition. The more you develop your intuition, the easier it becomes to navigate through life. While navigating, there's a very simple rule of thumb for making both the small and big decisions. It applies to everything. Always go for the thought that resonates, the one that feels right. Sometimes the feeling you have about a direction, idea, or action is very subtle. Sometimes it screams in your face, and sometimes there's no feeling at all. To be clear, I'm not talking about emotion here. Feeling resides on a deeper level. Furthermore, I'm not saying you should dismiss facts and rational arguments. Take them seriously. However, if it doesn't feel right, never do it. Everything is information. Read the signs in the world unfolding around you. Feel what is right, and most importantly, take action. You might already be living with your feelings at center stage. But to illustrate this further, I'll share a few practical examples from my own life about following what feels right. These examples all revolve around the same theme. They show how I follow my excitement, but also how intuition doesn't make you all-knowing. In many cases, the path becomes clear only as you walk it. Let me take you into my journey with music. I've always been a huge music fan. I listen to many different genres: classical, rock, hip-hop, jazz, electronic music, and everything in between. In my early 20s, I discovered a love for melodic and subtle techno music. I went to countless parties and festivals, keeping up with the latest tracks in my niche. At one point, Ricardo Tobar, a producer from Chile, released a brilliant album. I played it on repeat for weeks, both in my car and at home. What amazed me though was how this genius album was largely ignored by online music magazines. Clubs weren't booking him either. I was stunned. How could this brilliance go unnoticed? One day I sat on my couch, reading an interview with Ricardo while listening to his music. In the interview, he mentioned that the money he earned from an album was barely enough to buy groceries. At that moment, I had a thought that felt exciting and adventurous. This guy needed visibility. He needed a venue full of people. So I thought, what if I get my techno-loving friends together and organize a club night with Ricardo? That evening I decided to step into the electronic music scene. After a lot of hard work, fun and stress, our first club night with Ricardo, several other DJs and 400 dancing people was a huge success. The return on investment? Let's just say it wasn't great, but the experience? Pure joy. I realized that instead of consuming nightlife, we had created it. That night marked the beginning of many more club nights. The formula was simple. We only booked the DJs we genuinely loved. Over the years, we managed to book many of our international techno heroes. One morning, after finishing my daily practice in the garden, I was driving to the office. I had a track on repeat, a gorgeous piece that had brought me to tears multiple times. Overwhelmed by its beauty, I suddenly realized I wanted to hear this track in a club. But then came a second thought. If I wanted that, I would have to be the one to play it. At that time, I had a new club night planned with some of my favorite DJs from France and Germany. The thought of putting myself in the lineup felt like something I had to do. However, there were a few obvious problems. 1. I had no DJ experience whatsoever. 2. The next club night was in 3 weeks. 3. I was in an insanely busy period, running 2 companies and working 80-plus-hour weeks. Still, the excitement and knowing were too strong to ignore. So I decided to do it. My co-organizing friends thought I was completely nuts. 3 weeks later, it was showtime. The headliner was Ron, one of France's most respected electronic composers. He had just finished his soundcheck, and I was about to kick off the evening. A friend of mine said, "I hope Ron goes back to his hotel before his gig tonight. It's probably not great if he will see you play." Until that moment, I wasn't nervous at all. It just felt too right. But now, my legs started shaking. Was this button on the DJ gear for louder headphones or louder venue music? Ron didn't leave. He stood 2 meters away the entire time, sipping a beer and smiling. That gig turned out to be one of the coolest experiences of my life. That night, Ron told me 3 times how much he loved my set. I continued organizing club nights and DJing, but over time, I realized something had shifted. I wasn't truly dancing anymore. Instead, I observed from the back of the venue, watching people enjoy their chemically induced highs. As my own spiritual journey deepened, I didn't feel the need for alcohol or other substances. And slowly, I found it harder to connect with the audience. One night, a clear thought came to me. Why am I here? I loved creating the events, but the events themselves no longer felt alive. The following week, I told my organizing partner I wouldn't lead the next one. If there was going to be another event, it had to come from him. Months passed and nothing happened. Around that time, Awake Origins was planning a seminar. We wanted it to transform into a party afterward. One of my colleagues pointed out that one of the proposed dates fell during the Amsterdam Dance event, the world's biggest dance music conference. That synchronicity sparked something in me. What if we created a unique experience with meditation, music, in-depth interviews with the musicians, and proper techno? That's how Origins Live came to be. It was a sold-out event with incredible performances and deep connections among everyone there. One of the DJs I booked for the event was Dominique Oilberg, a true artist and part-time forester. After the party at 4 a.m., Dominique said to me, "What I'd really love is to guide a birdwatching tour during the day and then have a proper rave at night with the same group." The next morning, as I was aligning my energy centers in my garden, the insight struck. It was time for something new. A festival retreat with meditation, nature, and proper electronic music. No drugs, no alcohol, just pure presence. 2 months later, Resonant Retreat was born. A 5-day experience that was life-changing for many and one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. In the years that followed, music became deeply woven into Awake Origins retreats and experiences. I've had the privilege of interviewing some of my all-time favorite musicians, like John Hopkins. And we continued to create transformative events, like In the Beginning There Was a Sound. Time and again, I'm astonished by the power of music to accelerate inner clarity, spark awakening, and deepen human connection. To me, music is the purest celebration of life itself. Where this journey will take me and Awake Origins is something I cannot predict. What I do know is that following intuition has often been my guide. It's those quiet, often subtle feelings that light up a direction, even when logic or certainty isn't there. Trusting your intuition does not guarantee knowing where you'll end up. It's about being open to the unknown, letting curiosity and resonance shape the way forward. I'm not here to tell you what your path looks like. I'm still discovering mine. What I can share is that life feels more alive, more real, when I allow myself to be led by what feels true. So let's keep exploring. Trust the feelings that resonate. Follow what excites you and see where it takes you.